the pen. Your boys got the pen, and welcome to another episode of the Going Over podcast. It is I, your neighborhood friendly coach, trainer, promoter, 44-year-old professional wrestler, Zack Primetime Reeb, pow, bing, boom, and I'm joined alongside, as always, my illustrious podcast partner, the 7-foot wrecking ball, Paul Isadora. Welcome once again to another program.
What's up, man? So we just had a long telephone conversation, and we're like, "What the fuck, man? Why don't we just talk about that on the podcast?" So after nearly an hour of phone conversation, we're like, "Well, shit, there's some wasted time that we could have spent on the podcast, and we should know by now that that's how those conversations go." But we just never know. Sometimes we have a 15 or 20-minute conversation, and sometimes the conversations go well over an hour where we could have talked about that on the podcast. So
43 minutes to be exact before our two old dumbasses realized, hey, maybe we can do an actual podcast on this right now. And, we just had Ugly on the program. That was a nice surprise. We got to see him on Saturday, not too long ago, at the Capital City Clash. And then he's on the program on Sunday after training about 6 o'clock. And that one just came out. And Ugly added a group with me and Ollie, and he was talking about being a heel. When we talk about what we're going to do at the training, being a good heel, and then we started getting in a conversation and some things I wanted to talk about. I was watching our boy down in Australia, Damian Slater, and I was listening to what he was talking about on there about being a cool heel, and you just got to find ways to make people hate you more. And one of the things we were talking about a lot of things on this, man. And one of the things was, you gotta like people disliking you, even if you're a good human being, as we're doing this, you have to like people disliking you. You have to like that. You have to really soak that in. That's one thing we were talking about. Another thing we were talking about is just like the old days, the bad guy calls the match. He gives the baby face, he directs the baby face around and builds the sympathy and throwing good heat. He's got to be able to throw good heat, and he's got to be able to bump and feed. He's got to be able to back it up on the microphone or the interview to build up that baby face and make you want to see him slip on the banana peel, which was another thing, is showing your ass, man. Sergio always says it. You gotta be okay with being embarrassed and showing your ass at any given time, and not being like, my character's too strong to show my ass. And then another thing I talked about was being able to effectively bend the rules in front of the referees, but so he never sees them, but completely obvious to the fans in their plain sight of view that you're breaking the rules. That's why the abdominal stretch spot was so good for so long, because the referee's out of position. So a good heel wants to lure the referee out of position, and but he wants it to be completely obvious and in plain sight for the audience to see what he's doing. And and we were talking to Ollie, and then one thing I realized, and we've been saying it for years, is you could have the best heel in the world, and if the baby face is dead, if the baby face isn't fighting back when the crowd is chanting their name, then you're just, and it's the new quote I got from Rick Luxury a few years back, give him the credit for it, you're just fucking a dead horse. You're just fucking the dead horse is what you're doing. I explained it with you. I was like, imagine if Larry had a big ranch and he called you up and said, Paul, man, I know it's an hour drive, but my horse just died, and I need you to help me move this dead horse. And you're like, yeah, I'll be right there. And Larry's expecting you, he's home alone. He's expecting you to be there in an hour. and you just didn't let him know you were just around the corner, almost to his house, and you pull in through the gate and you see Larry naked with a pair of good quality cowboy boots on, just going to town on that horse. And you're like, you pull up and you're like, whoa, dude, what are you doing? And he looks over at you and he goes, I didn't expect you for another 55 minutes. He's like, here, let me finish. And then now you're like, oh, okay. So that was my analogy on that. Is fucking a dead horse. Rick said it to me one time. It's like you're beating a dead horse. No, you're having sex with the dead horse, and that's even worse. So that was those were some of the topics we were talking about. But I mean, there was just so much there was so much more as we were talking, like in scenarios that have happened in the last few months. And one of them we were talking about was Maple Gramps and Ethan Reno are in Carson City, and it's Maple's first time wrestling. And there's 40, 50 girls in unison, and they heard her name once, and the audience is chanting, "Let's go, Maple." And that's the point we get at to be a good baby faces, especially when the audience is giving you what you want. If you are to ignore that or not know what to do there and know, okay, they're chanting my actual name, it's time for me to start giving them what they want and building up to them, and then the heel shuts me down. And that is what makes, to me, a great heel, a great baby face, anything in the business. We always go back to it, is listening to what the audience wants, because the audience is our consumer. We're giving them the product to buy, and if we don't sell the product to them the way that they're asking for it, then we are not going to sell to the consumer. So I know I hit you with quite a bit of stuff right there and a little vulgarity, but what do you got on? Did any of those things I was talking about really stick out in your mind that we can just stroll along here to help some people out, whether they just getting started in the business, maybe they want to start in the business, or maybe they've been around the business for a while, because I've been doing it over 20 years and I'm still learning every weekend.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I think we could have we could talk about any one of those individual items for a long period of time, but I'll just jump in on the, just what you were talking about with Maple and Ethan. Having the ability to listen. I mean, we talk about that all the time as far as having the ear for the crowd and listening and things like that, right? You're trying to listen for those cues of the audience wanting some sort of action to happen. In that particular sense, the audience wants the babyface to fight back because the heel is doing their job and putting a beating onto the babyface. And now we're looking for the babyface now is gaining some sympathy, and it's their opportunity to, I'm going to fight back a little bit to give the crowd what they want. And then again, give the opportunity to the heel to cut you off. Right. So I always think about, like, you as the heel, and I guess this is going to, now that I'm thinking a little in advance, this is going to lead into why the heel calls the match and what they should be doing while they're doing that. The heel is also listening to the crowd for the same cues, right? So it's one of those things where if the babyface isn't fighting back at that point, your job as the heel is to give them those opportunities. Not to pull the curtain back too much, but the training video that we just had from this past weekend with you in the ring and Brian Joseph, it's got all the fucking subtitles on there. So even if you're not listening to it, it's telling you all the verbiage that you're saying, and you're tighten it up, grab this, you're walking him through as the heel of the things that you should do. So, I'm thinking, like, working as a heel, I'm beating this person up, and now the crowd is getting behind them. So now I'm giving them some cues of, hey, here's your opportunity, fight back, right? If they're not fighting back, you're telling them verbally to fight back, because obviously you're giving them the physical cues, giving them the openings to fight back. And if they're not doing that, then now you're verbally telling them you need to fight back, right? So, I think in my mind that's a good heel as far as calling the match and controlling the match and the tempo and things like that. You're hearing those things, and if the babyface isn't, then you're trying to give them those cues, because obviously they're not hearing them from the crowd for some reason. So, so I think that's a great point as well. To go, hey, the heel is in charge. They're going to be calling this match. They're going to be dictating the tempo and things like that. So, and it could be as simplistic as you're beating up the babyface. You start hearing the crowd come up. You turn and you address the crowd. Now the babyface has an opening to now start firing back a little bit. So, I think all the points that you're making as far as what is a good heel, what goes into it, that's just one aspect, is calling the match, right? So, yeah. So, and then I think, you talk about Sergio, and we talk about him being the Ricky Henderson of NorCal Pro Wrestling, and, being one of the best at just getting a reaction, getting the crowd fired up, getting some energy going, and for him, it's a big deal. His music hits and the fans immediately start booing, right? And that's like when you go, okay, I've taken the last 7-8 months to establish when my music hits, I'm going to come out and I'm going to be the most fucking annoying person on the card, and the crowd is just going to be fed up with me, right? As soon as it's to the point now where as soon as his music hits, they're like, oh fuck, it's this guy again, son of a bitch, we have to hear this guy talk and all this stuff, right? So, and he just soaks it in. You talked about showing your ass, not being afraid to slip on the banana peel, slip and fall, your fucking pants fall down, whatever, your analogy for showing your ass is, has no fear of that, understands that is his job to do that, right? You are the person that is going to look like a coward every time. You're going to talk a big game, but as soon as you get challenged, you're a fucking coward. And then the fans are obviously going to make fun of you for that. So being okay with having that type of relationship with the crowd obviously is of the utmost importance. And, you hear about back in the day how those really good heels, they knew that they were doing a good job when they came out and all of their, all of the tires on their car were flattened, right? They had all been slashed, right? And it was always the progression, right? Like I came out and one of my tires was slashed, and then I knew I made it when I came out to my car and all 4 tires were slashed. That way I knew I was doing a good job as a heel. So I will throw it back to you, man. You throw a little bit more input on some of these other subjects because I'm taking up some time now. So go ahead.
Oh, you're good, man. The Brian Joseph, I've never even locked up with him.
Right.
And I can tell you right now, and I remember telling you when you were talking about, what I thought about some guys going to the matinee shows and other places. And he was a name that I threw out there. I said, he's got good heat. He's got a lot of charisma and energy. He's very athletic. He's taller. So he puts a little, gets more ripped and put a little weight on his butt. But that was my first time locking up with him and moving around with him. And it was, I give it the okay. You know what I mean? He's very good and able to move around with him, and he's listening. He's listening to what I'm saying. And that's part of like when I'm talking to Ollie and he's like, we have to be more aggressive in a sense where we're placing these guys as the heel and the heat we're putting on them and how we're grabbing the holds. And he knows just as well as I know when you're doing this, whatever you're doing, it's easier to communicate with somebody when you guys are connected together. It's harder to talk to somebody if there's distance. And this has nothing to do with pro wrestling. It has everything to do with pro wrestling, but nothing to do with professional wrestling. Because if my dad's over here and I go, hey, dad, and he's like, huh? But if my dad's just sitting right here, we're side by side, and I go, hey, man, he can hear every word I'm saying. I don't have to yell loud. And that's just the obvious in anything in life. I don't have to yell out to you. We don't lose communication when we're close to each other with the communication. And one thing a lot of people, we talk about, all the episodes of Unreal just came on. So pulling back the curtain, the entire world gets the curtain pulled back all the time. But I mentioned it before. The thing about the heel is the reason the heel calls the match isn't just because they're the heel and that's their job. It's because the babyface is selling. So if the babyface is selling and he stops selling and starts talking, then he's no longer selling, right? So the heel's the aggressor, and he's talking shit to the babyface. He's talking shit to the referees, his partner, his manager, the fans. So they're already seeing him verbally moving his mouth. So if he's down here talking to everybody and he says, rise up, eat a tackle or something, it doesn't expose that we're talking to each other so much. So, and a good heel knows we're going to call the action on the mat. We're going to call the action in the roll-ups. We're going to call the action in the lockups. We're going to call the action where you can't see us calling the action. And that's another reason why I'm so big on don't just lock up and grab a hold, because you're feeling out the audience. You're seeing what they got. You're listening to them. But also when you lock up, if you get to the ropes and you push around, if you notice when I locked up with Jeff, I said to the ropes, let's roll around. And we rolled around the ropes and we got to a corner and we started going towards my corner. And then I moved it back to the neutral corner and let's get a clean break. And we're feeling each other out. We're listening to see what the fans think, but you can communicate so much in that lockup when you're pummeling around and moving around the ropes or just a headlock takeover. He rolls me up and we're both on our backs looking at the ceiling and the ref comes down to even count one and make the noise. And I can go, shoot me off the ropes, duck, clothesline, arm drag. I can call it upside down. I'm calling it in the roll, inside cradle, 1, 2, clothesline when we get out. Nobody sees it. It's covered up. So, but that's the thing is like what I look for in a young talent is when I'm watching that video back, which once again, I think that's really cool that Ugly posts that video. You got the me and Tim Thatcher thing coming up, which I'm really overly excited about. But it's like, I'm seeing this Brian Joseph kid wrestle. I'm seeing him train. I'm seeing how good of a kid he is. If Ugly says, hey, I need you and your partner to ref the first few matches of the show and then change into your gear and wrestle the back half, no complaints. I've seen those two guys at Jackrabbit shows getting the musics and the mic ready before the show. They're setting up the ring. They're breaking it down. They're at all the practices. They're everywhere. Those are his guys. And in turn, if those are his guys, I'm seeing the reason why those are his guys. And then I get in the ring with him and I lock up and I'm moving around and it feels good. And then I'm telling him things to do and he's doing exactly what I'm telling him to do. Like he's going to give me the arm wringer slow and you hear me go faster. Grab your own hand and pull this back. 2-on-1 my hand. Whatever I'm telling him to do, he is aware once I say it of what he needs to do. So when I'm sitting here saying, man, I think that kid is going to be something special in the business. Well, there's a video out right now that's online and everything that I think of him from my own opinion, I locked up with him for the first time and moved around the ring. And I'm like, yep. Because I saw it. I saw how he threw his heat. I saw how he sells. I saw how he delivers a tackle and takes his bumps. And I'm like, that all looks very smooth, and it looks the way it's being done the way it's supposed to be done at the right pace. So, you know, shout out to Mr. Brian Joseph, the snake daddy of the Gator Boys. You, my friend, are going to be something special.
Well, I know why you gave him the nickname BJ.
Yeah. Yeah. He's going to be one of those guys. The old rib I used to do to my my friends that aren't in the business when they would come to the show, whether we had a rumble or a jobber or something, when the jobber came out, or it'd be like 3, 2, 1, and the next contestant is BJ Perry. And one of my good friends from childhood would be sitting there going, that's my name. Yeah, that is. How'd you like that, motherfucker?
Oh, but you talked about another aspect of being a good heel is throwing good heat. You just touched on it with Brian Joseph, right? And those are the things, man. And I remember, when Luster was training our training classes and talking about when people had bad strikes, go home, and he would always tell them to punch the shower curtain, right? Punch the shower curtain until it doesn't move, right? You're touching it, but it doesn't move, right? And so that's how you're going to kind of know, right? I'm connecting, I'm not missing by a lot. I'm not fucking taking someone's head off by fucking, punching through it. And I've heard you talk about tie a string to the doorway, and same type of thing, right?
Yep.
I don't want the string to move a whole lot, right? I want to barely touch it. I want to throw good heat, right? And often I've heard you talk about throwing forearms, right? Protecting the guy. So it's making a good sound, but you're not fucking hurting the guy. And we talk about hitting hard in safe places. So all of these things where you see somebody doing something where you go, fuck, man, looks like they're killing the guy, but they're not really killing the guy. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about good heat. And it doesn't have to necessarily do just with the strikes alone. It is the ferocity, your attitude, right? Do you have the ability to go from I'm just wrestling with a guy, and maybe you've hit him with a couple things and you can't keep him down. Do you have the ability to turn that dial up a little bit and get more aggressive and more ferocious, right? Now you're like, you've got the mentality, you're trying to show the crowd like, hey, I can't keep this guy down. So now I have to turn it up, right? I have to do more to keep this guy down. And in turn, that goes right back to, trying to build the sympathy for this babyface, right? Because, the babyface is taking punishment after punishment. And then all of a sudden, now the fucking aggressiveness gets turned up. The dial gets turned up. And now they're getting the shit kicked out of them, right? Now it looks like there's no possible way they're gonna be able to fight back. And then you're trying to get those opportunities in order to fight back, right? So, having the good heat like that, right? You don't have to, we think about as heels, we're not going to do these big flashy moves, right? It's going to be all aggressive, just basic stuff, right? A lot of times we're thinking about just, strikes, kicks and punches, things like that. So, it's one of those things where you have to have a little bit different mentality when it comes to being a heel. It's not, you're not trying to do the moves that make the crowd go, ooh, did you see that? You're trying to do the stuff that the fans go, oh, what an asshole. Like, what a dick, man. Like, and maybe it's not even the things that are illegal necessarily. It's just the things that you look at the guy and go, man, that's overkill. That's just mean. The guy is, you're beating the guy up and the guy's getting up and you're like stepping on his fingers, right? It's not illegal, but but it's just a dickhead thing to do, right?
Well, don't
It's
get up
over
off
the
the
top.
mat with your hands flat.
Right, right. So, and it's little things like that, right? It's you're utilizing the discretion of the official with holding on to a hold a little bit longer than you should, right? And they're admonishing you with a count, right? And they're going to disqualify you if they get to a certain number, and you're like you said before, like you are you said breaking the rules, but it could even be like, you're just stretching the rules. You're seeing how far you can get with the official by doing legal maneuvers, but maybe you're holding on too long, right? You're in the corner where you need to get out of there, and you're holding on as long as you can. So just those things like that, when you're talking about putting good heat and your aggression level and things like that. I think all of those things, really go into being a good heel. So,
Have you ever watched a good referee or a good referee ref a spotty match? A lot of times they get caught, and nowadays just sitting around watching the match, and they just become the guy counting. But have you ever watched Sparky Ballard referee a spotty match? He still refs it, enforcing all rules. He still does it the old school way. And literally, as I'm watching a spotty match and Sparky's reffing it, Sparky is standing out to me over the wrestlers in the ring because they're just so engaged in what they've talked about back there. And Sparky is just working. He's just reffing. So he's going to ref it just like he would ref a normal match being worked by somebody else. So he actually stands out in that situation because he's working. He doesn't change what he's doing. He doesn't, okay, I'm just going to come out here and count to 3, just put a zebra stripe on me and we'll call it a day. He's out there still going, hey, what are you doing? Break that hold, man. Having a conversation with the guy. And a lot of times in those type of matches, you see the guy looking at Sparky going, hey, man, get out of my way. I got something to do.
right.
If you're spending an hour or more working out your match in the locker room and your match is less than 10 minutes, there's a fucking problem. If you need to go into the ring for anything except to like check out if the ropes are secure and the turnbuckles are fucking, the actual turnbuckles themselves are tight and straight so they're not flopping everywhere, or check if there's divots in the ring. If I actually need to go, hey, we need to go practice this in the ring, I probably shouldn't be doing that. And I get why some people do practice doing that, because they're like, we have this dangerous fucking spot we're going to do, and I want to make sure you can do it. But I can also, I remember the franchise players, the Chase Jackson and Preston Price were wrestling Buck and Bay. And they were talking about doing something. They were talking about doing like
it was some sort of elevated maneuver.
They were talking about suplexing one of them over their heads to land on the other guy's shoulder for a power bomb. And I said, I don't think so. And it was just because they're so big and they're not as athletic. So it's not like you're grabbing a Brandon Nash or a Christian Sky or something, an under weight-wise size guy and doing this, because it's easier to do all that stuff. So then they did that and it didn't work out. And I'm like, well, next time just like pick the guy up and hold him there and then move yourself out to do the move. And the reason is, like, if you can't look, I saw Alex Ace showed up at our show one time and was wrestling the clown Mike French, you know what I mean? And Mike's an older guy and he's broke his neck before too. And instead of doing the boot, he decided he was going to give this old guy that has a broken neck and bumps terrible a double choke bomb And it didn't work out very well. And the guy didn't want to go up for it with just good reason, too. We always say, just say no. But the thing I'm getting at here is this is all about we're moving around, we're having this engaging match, like we're just moving around, and he's shining on me. I get a hammerlock, he counters it back faster. You know what I mean? I've cut this guy off, man. I finally got some room to breathe. And then the hopes need to take just cause as you're building them back up. Like, yeah, I cut this guy down. I finally got some breathing room. He's not all up my ass anymore. Now I can, taunt the crowd or do what I got to do. Now I get on top of this guy. But that first, when the crowd gets behind him for the babyface, that first initial fire back up should have more than the other ones, because it's the first one. That should be the one where he fucking gets back up and he hits a maneuver or gets a counter, and he looks like for a brief second he's going to start to build a little bit of steam, and then he gets shut down. And then that next one doesn't have as much on it. And then the next one has nothing on it. Because if we don't believe, if the audience doesn't believe that the baby face is in trouble, really in trouble, and we're not even talking the tag match here because that's a completely separate thing. If they don't believe in a one-on-one contest that this guy is in trouble, then who gives a shit? Like, who really gives a shit? Everyone talks about what makes a great heel. What makes a great heel is having a good baby face. If you don't have a good baby face, and I don't mean a baby face like, man, this guy is a established baby face selling tickets all up and down the fucking United States. I just mean somebody that looks good, has some charisma, he's likable, and then you beating up on him, he doesn't die. So we worry about, like, if it's a tag match or it's a single match, just start kicking the guy's ass. Build some heat up and see if he can get the crowd behind him for a good comeback, or see if he can build up to one good hot tag. Because if we can't take heat and build sympathy and just beat my ass, I'm going to sell for you and I'm going to fire back, and then I'm going to have a comeback in a single match, or beat my ass and I'm going to build up to a hot tag. And one thing that I'm looking at too, like in our situation in that match, is you're never going to be the beatdown. The bigger guy is never going to be the beatdown. So if you're a team like the Gator Boys, whether, especially in a babyface sense, Bobby Bayou is always the hot tag. And he's the hot tag not because it's like, the other guy can't do it, Brian Joseph can't do it. It's because by design, if you're a good heel, psychologically laying the outline out, you want him on the outside of the ring so that you can put the heat on the smaller guy. Because it ain't going to work the other way around. Unless it's some weird scenario case and you're telling a story and Bobby Bayou rolls his ankle in the middle of the ring, and now you're like, oh, the big guy's hurt. But then now that's going to hinder you in the finish of the match when you tag in the smaller guy, because the bigger guy, his ankle's hurt. He can't, he was already not as fast and as mobile, and now he's hurt and he can't come in at the end of the match to help his partner finish off. And maybe that's why you beat that team on that night. So every night should be a different thing. But I mean, when you talk about the good heat, and it's like, on our birthdays and stuff, when it's our buddy's birthday, we kick the shit out of him, right? We always beat him up. So I get why people in wrestling on their birthdays are like, rip that kid's shirt off and let's bloody up his chest. Let's initiate him. But I just want to let everybody know, as far as wrestling goes, hit me, but I don't want my blood vessels on my chest to open up. I don't want my ear to ring on a forearm. I don't want my collarbone to be swollen up. I don't want you to close my eyes. I don't want you to really poke me in the eyes with your finger. Don't break my fucking nose. If you're a Samoan or from the islands, and you hit me with that. Don't really make it so that I can't breathe and my larynx or Adam's apple almost pops out of my mouth like a testicle. If you're going to hit me with an insecurity, do not fucking, you can put your foot there, but stop it when it's there. Don't throw it all the way through and give me a fucking concussion. You know what I mean? Like, these are the things when we're talking about good heat. You should be able to be on your hands and knees crawling, and I should be able to kick you with my foot and make it look like I kicked you in the head. I do it all the time in class. A hard kick, a lot of English on it. And I go, did that hurt? And they go, no. And it looks like I kicked you in the head. But I see a lot of stiff kicks, man. Like when we came back through the curtain after the first thing, fucking Jeff comes up and he's like, goddamn, Sergio really stomped on my back. And I'm like, yeah, he did. He had no bend to his body, and Sergio's just fucking straight legging this motherfucker. You know what I mean? So I pride myself on I'm throwing heat and it looks good, but I'm not hurting the guy. He can still go to work on Monday morning. And for you out there that go, well, I watch a lot of Japanese strong style, I'm here to let you know something, Mark. I'm here to let you know, Mark. It's a gimmick. There are people that are really out there fucking potatoing and knocking motherfuckers out because they're retarded, but it's a gimmick. Strong style means that I'm Tajiri. I know how to throw my strikes and kicks to make it look like I knocked your head off, and people believe it because wrestling's a work. Strong style does not mean I go out there and I MMA this guy and kick him in the side of his fucking head because I'm a strong style wrestler. No, I'm lucha. I'm 70s, I'm 60s, 70s European style. I'm American. I'm modern. There's all kinds of different, but the styles are a work, man, because we're all trying to accomplish the same thing out here, man. Not fucking kill or injure the guy we're wrestling. That's it. So what makes a good heel? Yeah, get some heat. Call the match. But make it believable. Listen to the audience and don't really hurt me. If you really hurt me, you're not a good heel. You're just a shitty wrestler or a bad person. You know what I mean? You got to go home to your daughters, man. You got a family. You got work on Monday. If I just decided that I was mad at you and I was going to really buckle your knee from behind on a chop block, or I was going to fucking frog splash you and overshoot it and land my knee in the side of your mouth just because I was mad at you, I'm not a professional. I'm just an asshole, man.
Absolutely. So I think I feel like we've hit most of the topics that you talked about, with the exception of effectively cheating, where the referee doesn't see it, but the crowd absolutely sees it. And one of my favorite, and I don't even know who it was, the guy that was talking about using a foreign object, right? So a lot of people, it's a gimmick, something, right? It's a pen, it's something, it's a piece of a stick with fucking tape around it or whatever. But my favorite one was this guy was talking about how they're like, well, how do you keep the foreign object hidden from the referee? And he's just like, well, because there is no foreign object, right? I reach into my tights and I pull out my hand like this, like I've got something in it, and I hit the guy with it. And I put my hand back into my tights and I come back out, and now I don't have anything on my hand, right? And that's the story, right? I get the referee out of position. I reach into my tights. I grab the foreign object, which is
the dildo,
which is actually nothing, and I hit the guy with it, and then I put the foreign object back into my tights, and then I go about my business. And it was just it just made me laugh, man, because it's like, you think that you have to have something. You think you have to have an actual object. But this guy was just talking about how he was just putting his hands in his tights, and he's come out with a balled fist, And then the next time he put his hands back in his tights, he'd come back with nothing in his hand. And he's like, I literally had nothing in my hand the entire time. But the fans, they think that I'm taking something in and out of my tights to hit this guy with, and it's creating an advantage. But obviously the referee's not seeing it because he's out of position. You know, my back is turned to him or whatever it is. And you talk about that. Like I've watched you do it countless times. Granted, it's with a 66-year-old referee that probably can't see or hear a whole lot of stuff. So probably wouldn't see it anyway, right? A lot of times if something happens right in front of him, he doesn't see it either. So, but being able to do that effectively as a heel, you know, we have so many people that think, oh, I'm getting heat because I'm choking the guy in front of the referee. And you're just like, dude, that's illegal, right? If you're being a good heel, you were going to do that without the referee seeing it. But just like you said, you're going to do it where the fans do see it, right? So trying to create those situations, and really it's just understanding, you know, where the referee is going to be, you know, and in most cases, you know, they're in theory they're working a horseshoe opposite of the hard cam. You know?
They're the biggest. They're what makes it work.
Right.
Because they're hip to it.
Right.
The ref is. Like
yes.
The ref is in on letting you cheat so he doesn't see it. He's putting himself in position with you so that you can do it. So that's why we say they're just as big just as big a part of the match. Is that the fucking way? Just as
big.
Say that 5 times fast. Yeah. I hear you. Just as big as part of the match. Just as, you know what I want to see? We always talk about the dildo on a pole match, right? I want to see the baby face. The heel was with his mom the night before, and during the contest, the baby face is pissed about it, and the heel pulls out the baby face's mom's dildo and uses the baby face's mom's dildo to beat him with it. You know what I mean? Like that's the weapon, and he wins the match and leaves the dildo for the baby face, and the baby face is like, I know you hit me with the sex toy. And he's like, oh, I did hit you with the sex toy. Check out the video. And he's at the baby face's mom's house, and he takes the mom's dildo. And now the baby face is just furious that he lost the match, and he lost it because he got hit with his mom's used dildo. And now we have to put the dildo up on the pole to see who can pull it down. And that's how you make the dildo on a pole match matter. Like, so it's a serious situation, I believe, in that case. I'm just you can make anything work. You can make anything work if you think about it.
Right. Absolutely, man. So anything else that we may have skimmed over or skipped or missed as far as being a good heel?
Yeah, like a lot of these heels as a heel, what makes a good heel is knowing when to get the fuck out of here. When to stay and when to get the fuck out of here. You put somebody over in an upset type fashion, let that baby face skirt out of here, then you stay in the ring and throw your fit or question the ref or do whatever you got to do to get some heat back on yourself because you just were beaten by a less than. Or knowing when to get the fuck out of there, like when all the kids were flipping off Sergio at the start or even at the end there, he was hanging out too long, so I grabbed him by the wrist to leave, because it's like, if you let all the heat stay there, the heel wants to get out of there. The heel wants to get the heat and leave. He doesn't want to stay out there with the heat, because then all the heat's used up. Everyone's already booed and got everything they want out. You want to get, once the heat goes up, after the match or a promo or whatever. Get out of there. Don't stick around too long. Because, like, let's just say Sergio, let's say Sergio, or just say any heel comes out there and gets the place cooking before their match. Okay, you got the heat on the way to the ring. They're mad. They're angry. Now get the fuck in the ring so the babyface can come out. And now the heat's even, and now they cheer him, and now the heat's, it hasn't reached its pinnacle yet. You haven't wore it out. If you wear your heat out too much, then next time you won't have as much heat. Or if you wear your heat out too much before the match, then you'll lose heat during the match, and then you might lose some heat on your finish. So a good heel knows when to okay, I've got my heat, now bring out the baby face. Okay? Now I've still got some, now we've shifted gears and they're cheering him. Now let's use the baby face getting the shine on me to get some shine for him and build his heat up a little bit. And then I'm going to take all his heat by stopping him. And then now I still have all that heat that I got coming out to the ring, and I can now use more of that heat in the beatdown. And then when it's time to give the heat back to the baby face, the comeback or the hot tag. And then now what's the finish? Are we going somewhere? Do I need to take the heat from the baby face tonight to leave him in the ring to get the claps from the fans? And this is going to escalate. Are we going somewhere with it? So I feel like what makes a good heel is the booking too. You know what I mean? Like, you need to understand, is this a one-off with this baby face? Is this going somewhere? How much time can we get out of it? Because I'm getting heat, and then I want you to get your heat, your baby face heat. And then I want you to take my heat from me by out wrestling me. And then I'm going to take all that heat and sympathy from you by cutting you off. So we're just trading this stuff back and forth to make everybody care about, like, I can't give you sympathy if I can't get heat. Just, it's impossible. So I have to get some heat, not too much. And then I have to let you get some of that baby face goodness behind you. And then the match starts out and I get a little heat, but then you outdo me and they cheer for you and they laugh at me. And then they ridicule me. And then I take all that heat that I built up and I gave to you and I stop it and I take it all from you. And then we start to slowly build some up for you. Like that's basically how the outline of it goes in that explanation right here. And everyone's so used to saying, well, I got to shine on you. And then you got to cut me off. And then we're going to do some hope spots. And then we'll build the comeback and a couple falsy, and we'll go with the finish. And it's like, if you don't know anything about professional wrestling, if you're not there yet, okay, cool. They set a little formula down for you so you could stupidly get through this match. Like, okay, so we're going to chain and I'm going to get the better and then I'm going to cut you off and we talk about, but that's not it. It's, I need to get heat so you can get sympathy and cheers. And I need to build my heat a little bit so you can outdo me. And when that heat starts rising for you and they start really getting behind you, and I hear it, that's when you're done getting the best of me and I stop you. And now I take all your shit. It's mine now. And I tell the audience, it's mine. He doesn't have it anymore. I have it. And then that's when they start getting behind this guy. And we don't know when they're going to get behind him. So guess what, guys? And I'll shut up. I'd say that in class all the time. Okay, I'll shut up now. Then it's okay at this point for you to sell. The babyface always thinks like, I'm just selling. I need to get up and do something and not just fight back. They're like, just fight back. Just fire back and build up. Try to get back to your feet. And they go, no, tackle, drop down, leapfrog, drop kick. Dive out. Oh, no, because nobody cares then. Save that. Save that shit for the end.
Crazy.
It's my best
As you say dive out, I'm thinking like, was there any dive outs in Carson City?
I don't remember one.
I don't remember one either. That's maybe a first. I don't know. Like you would think like
Beautiful.
that seems like it has to happen in every show. We have to work to the dive out spot.
Did anybody go to the top rope?
I don't know about that either.
I think Boyce went to the middle.
Right.
Good challenge. Don't go to the top. Don't do a dive out.
That's it, man. We talk about challenges all the time. The don't hit the ropes challenge, the don't throw a punch challenge. Now we've got the no dive out, no top rope challenge. That could make that could definitely make for some interesting wrestling shows, and that can make some very challenging wrestling shows for certain wrestlers to try to get through a match without doing certain things.
I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do. Next time I get in there with a spotty guy, I'm gonna walk out to the ring with one of the ring turners.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna get in the ring, and the ref's I'm gonna pull out the weapon, and the ref's gonna be like, "Hey, what? You can't use that." And I'm like, "Don't worry, I'm gonna get rid of it." And I'm gonna walk over to the corners, and I'm gonna loosen up the top, the middle, and the bottom rope, and I'm gonna throw the ring turner out of the ring, and I'm gonna look over at my opponent and be like, "What are you gonna do now?" I've never seen it done.
Oh, that's some real heel shit right there.
That is. What are you gonna do? Well, and get on the microphone and say, "Okay, I loosened up the ropes. What are you gonna do now? Can you beat me in here without those?" And but I mean, those are just things. Like, there's so much stuff we can do on every single night with all these different personalities. And it's not just about fucking wrestling. You know, it's not what it's about. It's about making the audience feel something. Whatever it is, just make them feel something. Make them feel scared. Make them feel insecure. Make them feel happy. Justify if you call someone four eyes or a geek, you know what I mean? A pencil neck geek. If you insult somebody, don't leave as the heel. If you insult somebody, don't leave them out there feeling like shit insulted. Make sure the baby face makes everything right. You know what I mean? The baby face should just, if you're gonna, one thing I hate too about the heel is, and Lee Perfetto does it all the time, and I laugh at it because I'm just like, dude, someone's gonna lay you out. He always comes out and like grabs like a $60 hat off their head and fucking flings it to the back of the building. I'm like, I would love to be a fan and have some asshole pull my fucking New Era hat off and throw it on the ground and stomp on it. And I'd be like, dude, I'm gonna fuck you up now, especially because there's no guardrail here.
Right.
Don't ruin my shit. Don't throw shit on me.
Right.
Like when Bad News went to throw water one time, and I remember watching the replay in slow motion. Remember when he fell?
Oh, I don't remember, but I was gonna say that's the water on the floor, man. I feel like has I feel like I tore my ACL on water on the floor. I remember Michael Shawn coming out of the curtain and slipping right in front of the fucking curtain, falling down on the ground. Now you're saying Bad News fell down. You haven't seen the clip? I don't think so.
I'll send it to you. He goes to he starts running to go throw the water bottle in Orville at fans, and the water bottle, his hand went that way, but the water bottle stayed where he initially went to release, and he just fell and hit the ground. He got up and sold it well, but that's what happened to me with the stairs.
Oh, right, yeah.
When they slid, it's because every single motherfucker, including myself, but everybody in the locker room's taking a fucking shower with their spray bottles and shit. Like, most of the injuries happen walking out the curtain because everyone's standing there just fucking dumping water on their head and fucking spraying themselves down. And you stand at the fucking curtain to walk out, and it's a basketball floor. And what do they got in the NBA and shit? Even in high school, if the floor gets sweaty and wet, someone runs out there and fucking wipes it dry.
Right.
So people don't break their fucking legs and tear their ACLs. So I feel like most of the injuries happen. You know, I went to just go up the stairs and they just started sliding like I was in a fucking mudslide, and I fucking stopped, got off, grabbed them, slowly pushed them towards the door, and then flipped them over. Because it's like, what? I'm not gonna try to walk up them again, and I sure the fuck ain't gonna have Sergio walk up them 5 minutes remaining in the podcast, because we went to take a piss at a rest stop and there was some ice on the ground, and Sergio fucking looked like he was Will Ferrell from Blades of Glory. You know what I mean? A drunk Will Ferrell from Blades of Glory, because he's like, whoa, and he like caught his bounce. And he's like, be careful because it's slick. I'm like, well, I have some athleticism, so I'm not worried about fucking breaking my tailbone on some black ice at a rest stop before Truckee.
Oh shit, that's good stuff, man. I did hear you say like a lot of being a good heel is just the booking, man. And what I enjoy is when you book something and you think it's going to go, you have a certain image of how it's going to go, and those guys go out there and they just expand upon that. And you know, you think about, oh well, this is going to be a one-off or whatever, and then you find something that comes together and you go, oh shit, maybe we got something here. You know, this the fans really fucking hate this guy more than we thought they would, and now we can turn this into something else that's going to go a little bit long term as far as storyline and things like that, which is you know, which was a big point that Ugly was talking about from the last podcast, was like, you know, you guys did all this storytelling on the front end of the show. You know, and I had mentioned to you, like, not only is it storytelling for us long term that people that have been watching the product are familiar with, but it's also within the show itself. If someone, this is their first show that they've ever been to, or they're not up to date on the storyline, it's also telling the story within the show itself. So you know, we get a little bit of that you know, with doing some of that. You know, we said 30 minutes of non-wrestling at the front end of the show, and you know, it just happened to work out. So definitely you know, obviously we've been doing something similar to that to not only extend storyline throughout our promotion as a whole, but also to have some storyline where people watching the show just for the one night may be able to follow along and go, oh, this happened at the beginning of the show, and this is the culmination at the end of the show. And you know, and obviously we're trying to build on that, and a lot of that is you know, what the heels do as far as inciting the crowd, getting them to care and getting them to be pissed off, and wanting to see the babyface come back and kick the shit out of them and things like that. So definitely, you know, full circle when it comes to that type of stuff, right? Telling those stories with, you know, somebody that you think is going to be a heel and is going to do something very simplistic, and then they end up doing something a little bit bigger and leading to something that you can use down the road. So those are always cool things that you see when you set up something, and then it goes beyond your expectations of what you wanted to do.
For sure. You know, a lot of, and when we're talking about this, there's a lot of young talent out there that this takes a while to learn, man. But there's a lot of young talent out there that is going to be so good, even within the next year, you know, and to see if we see them around in 5-10 years, like we're going to be talking about them, like we talk about Jacob Fatu and Powerhouse Hobbs and Brian Cage and all these guys, Tim Thatchers. You know, this Friday, Limelight right here in Maryland. So by the time this airs, we got it done good. It'll be Limelight time. And then the next night will be some WCWF action over at the WCWF Arena. And just a lot of good stuff going on, man. I'm really excited about everything. A lot of good training coming up. I believe the 14th is the Ugly Dojo matinee show. No. It's February 28th because also you're running on the 28th, and we have Last Man Standing on the 20th. We got a lot of stuff coming up, man. We got the NorCal United thing coming. NorCal United in Pacheco at Pacheco Square Gardens on February 7th, following a show that we're doing here. There's too much going on. Hey, hit that subscribe button, right, Paul? Let's hit that button, and we'll leave your mom's dildos in the top drawer. All you got to do is hit that button. I won't mess with those dildos at all. I'll leave them right there. You'll never know I touched them. And for Zach Primetime Reeb and the Wrecking Ball Paul Isadora, hey, we're going over.